Hello everyone, I hope you are enjoying watching this video series so far. This is part 6. Enjoy. I'm gonna get our jack out of the way. So now I'm gonna bring you up front here so we can drain the engine oil. Everything is put back together down here. We are almost done. I tightened these 2 bolts over here, and then these 4, and then these 2, so the cross member is installed. Our catalytic converter is installed. Everything looks good up there. Okay, so we're good to go. The bottom of this vehicle has to be cleaned. I will tell the customer to take this vehicle to a pressure washer when we are done. So here are the bolts that I tightened for the EGR tube. So everything is tightened here, so we're good to go. So now we're gonna drain the engine oil, and then we're gonna remove this oil level sensor so we can replace the O-ring of it. The customer bought the oil level sensor O-ring, so while we're here, we're gonna replace it as well. So we're gonna drain the oil out of the engine because I'm pretty sure that the oil is mixed with coolant right now because of the oil cooler that we replaced. I mean, you'll see the oil that's gonna come out of here will be mixed with coolant. Did you see that? So this is definitely a mixture of oil and coolant. So we're gonna let it drain. So while the oil is still draining, we're gonna remove our oil level sensor. So I got the bolts for the oil level sensor removed. The oil level sensor has 3 bolts. So now we're just gonna pry it out of the way. Here it is. Okay, so we had to remove these 3 bolts that go over here. Here is our oil level sensor. I'm gonna take it to the bench so we can replace the O-ring of it. We're gonna clean off this surface. Here's our oil level sensor. We're gonna wipe it down, and then I'm gonna replace the O-ring for it. So the oil level sensor has an O-ring right here. There's an O-ring here that we have to remove. So here is the old O-ring. I have a new one over here that we're gonna install. Here's the new O-ring. It looks identical to the one we just removed. Okay, so we're gonna install our new O-ring. Just like that. Right here. We got our new O-ring installed. So now let's take our oil level sensor back to the vehicle so we can install it. We replaced the O-ring, so we're good to go. Here comes our oil level sensor. so I had to push it all the way to help the seal sit. So now we can tighten the bolt for the oil level sensor. All right, so that's good. Now I'm gonna reconnect the electrical connector. We're good to go. Before we start reconnecting the electrical connectors, I'm gonna put oil in the engine first. We are putting 5W40 motor oil on this Sprinter van. So now we're gonna check the oil level with the dipstick. We have to add a little bit more. All right, so that's good. We have enough oil in the engine. That's good to go. So now let's continue. Now I'm gonna tighten the EGR tube bolt on the back of the turbo. All right, so that's good. Now I'm gonna tighten the EGR bracket, the EGR tube bracket bolt. All right, so we're done back here. Everything is tightened behind the turbo. So now let's start reconnecting the electrical connectors. So now I'm gonna fold this wiring harness back over here. So at this point, all I'm doing now is making sure that all the wires get reconnected to the right connectors. we're gonna start reconnecting the electrical connectors of all these electrical components here. Now we're going to install our fuel rail. So now we're gonna connect these sensors here. I'm gonna reconnect our fuel supply lines to the injectors. All right, so we got these fuel lines, tubes tightened. So we're good to go. So now we're gonna install the PCV breather. All right, so the PCV tube is installed. So now we're gonna bring up our fuel return lines. All right, now we're gonna get these screws here started. I mean these bolts, and then we're gonna install this bracket here. This bracket over here can be a little bit challenging to line up. The good thing is it's cooperating, so that's good. I got all the bolts started. Okay, the wire of the swirl motor goes in the back of this bracket, so that's good. So now we're gonna tighten these bolts. All right, we are making progress. Everything looks good. So now I'm gonna reconnect our fuel return lines. Alright, our injector fuel return lines are reconnected, so we're good to go. So now I'm gonna install this hose over here. So now I'm gonna reconnect the EGR valve electrical connector, just like that. And then I'm gonna reconnect the EGR valve temperature sensor. All right, very good. We are making progress. All right. So now what's next? Now the next step is I'm going to install the cover that covers the passenger side valve cover. Now we're going to install this guy over here. All right, so just like that, the cover is reinstalled, and then we're going to install this filler tube. Perfect. So now we're gonna install the cover that covers the turbo. We're now gonna install the turbo heat shield. All right, so what's next? So now the next step is installing, oh dang, you know what? I should have installed our fuel filter first. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me remove this. I'm gonna install our fuel filter first. So I'm installing the bolts for the oil filter bracket, the fuel filter bracket. All right, everything looks good. Everything is going back in smoothly. Very good.